good-humoured cheer when I finally unearthed it in the drum of the washing machine. Greg remained oblivious, sitting at the kitchen table, scratching out yet another furious letter in his illegible doctor's handwriting, using the quill pen I had jokingly given him some years before with which to write his many letters of complaint. I was surprised that he didn't write on parchment, use a wax seal and get a liveried footman to deliver his missives by hand. This current letter was to the council about a parking fine. "Ha! Chloe, listen to this," he said. "I'm demanding a reply from the councillor himself." He stood up, held the letter as far from himself as his arm would reach, vanity forbade the use of reading glasses and concomitant recognition of middle age, cleared his throat, and using the special voice he reserved for officialdom, read, "Upon examining the legislation, I am astonished to learn that the London Borough of Brent or its agents appears to be attempting to extort money from me in an unlawful manner. Please find enclosed an extract of the Bill of Rights Act 1689, enacted and formally entered into statute following the Declaration of Rights 1689. I draw your attention to the following section. That all grants and promises of fines and forfeitures of particular persons before conviction are illegal and void." He looked up at me, delighted with himself, like a dog that has brought a far-flung stick back in record time to lay at his master's feet. He reached for a slice of toast, which he spread carefully with a thin layer of cholesterol-busting Benecol. "What does that mean, then? That they can't enforce parking fines at all without convicting you of a crime?" "Precisely," he said, giving a smug little smile as he left the room. "First, you have to be found guilty in a court." Leo, our 15-year-old son, made a lightning kitchen raid before our eyes, during the course of which he successfully snatched a chocolate bar from a tin that was supposed to be hidden in a top cupboard, swigged orange juice from a carton in the fridge, and left before anyone could shout at him. Bea, the Czech pair, gave a characteristic scowl at the space he had briefly occupied before shrugging and returning to her careful task of assembling a platter of exotic fruits that I had bought specifically for that night's supper. I said nothing, assuming it was for my 12-year-old daughter Kitty, who had recently announced that she was on a health kick, and as every parent knows, nothing and no one should stand in the way of any child who voluntarily eats fresh fruit and vegetables. Just then, Kitty came in, carrying a plate of half-finished instant mashed potato. "I've got a tummy ache," she said. "I'm not surprised, eating that processed rubbish. What happened to the new health regime?" I answered unsympathetically. I realised then that the exotic fruit platter must be intended for none other than Bea's own stomach. Sure enough, Bea settled herself comfortably at the table while I tried not to watch as she ate slice after slice of expensive mango, papaya and guava, delicately with a knife and fork. The sun was shining, and I was determined to preserve my good mood. So, with only the merest tightening of the jaw, I emptied the dishwasher and brushed Kitty's hair. Really, everything was fine. Until I saw my third patient of the day. I'm a psychotherapist, and our Queen's Park house has a separate basement flat where I see my patients. Most people put their nice, harmless old mothers at the bottom of their houses, not a bunch of self-pitying whingers who bore on about their problems, says Greg. The idea that Greg is able to put the words nice and harmless anywhere near the word mother is, in the light of his own female parent, frankly risible. Moreover, my self-pitying whingers helped see him through the last few years of medical school. But being a GP, he doesn't really have much patience for any sort of illness, and especially not those that have no obvious physical characteristics. The notion that people can feel better and happier by talking to a trained therapist causes him to roll his eyes in exasperated disbelief. Why don't they just talk to their friends instead of to a complete stranger like you? We discuss my work as little as possible. That morning I'd said goodbye to Furious Frank, who has a little anger management problem we've been working on, and I was enjoying the 10 minutes between patients by looking out the window and watching feet crunch autumn leaves as they passed. Summer was over, but I didn't feel my usual desolation in the face of the impending season of mists. The doorbell rang with a familiar nagging insistence.